In case you're just joining us, we're talking with Governor Bob McDonnell of Virginia. Virginia Republicans have pounded the president pretty hard on the prospect of sequestration and the possibility that defense spending will be cut as a consequence of the inability of Democrats and Republicans to agree on a broad deficit reduction strategy. Eric Cantor, the Republican House Majority Leader from Virginia, was intimately involved in the party's decision to agree to the threat of sequestration rather than to any tax increase. At any point, did you tell Eric Cantor or any of your allies on the Hill, hey, Virginia could take it pretty hard if defense is cut. You should cut a deal?
Well, what I said at the time, and I think what a lot of Republicans said, is the greatest country on the earth is about to lose its credit rating and default on its obligations. That would have sent the world into financial tizzy. And so, because of the inability of Congress and both parties to agree last August, they cut a deal to extend the debt ceiling, but they held a sword over everybody's head, and that sword was called sequestration. $600 billion of cuts to defense, $600 billion to domestic programs. The truth is, Kojo, nobody thought that was actually going to happen. If you remember, the super committee was supposed to fix the problems, and then when they failed, the Congress had about another 8 months, and they failed. And I believe the president's been a bystander, and here's what the problem is right now. I thought the debt deal was the better of two evils, and that is, don't default, do this deal, and then work things out before we get to another cliff. But now we're 60 days away from hundreds of thousands of Virginians getting sent notices that said, hey, guess what, January 1st, you may not have a job. And that's just unacceptable. Secretary Panetta, previous Secretary Gates have both said, we're in a war in Iraq. You cannot dismantle some of the spending for the Defense Department at this time. And I'm saying, look, you've had a year. You've botched it. The president's been a bystander. He hasn't led on this. Congress hadn't been able to get a deal. You guys need to go back in now. Don't wait for the lame duck session. Go back in now and make an attempt to fix this. Ratchet down the cuts to defense and ratchet up the cuts to social programs and entitlements, because we can't defang part of the United States military at this time.
People will say, but you, Bob McDonnell, you went for the deal, and now you're complaining about the fact that there are going to be defense jobs cuts, and so many of those defense jobs in your state, you want to put those cuts onto somebody else.
Now, what I'm saying is that defense is only 12% or so of discretionary spending, and entitlements. Look, Kojo, everybody knows that the reason that we're in this disastrous situation of trillion-dollar deficits every year of the Obama administration, the largest increase in debt in American history, $16 trillion, is because we don't have the courage to cut. We have to cut across the board in both defense, entitlements, in everything. But we have to do it with dramatic reforms, I believe, like we've done in Virginia, like other Republican governors have done. And yeah, I went for not defaulting on our obligations and maintaining the United States of America's credit rating. I thought that was better than default. But part of that deal was we expect you in Congress, working with the president, to not actually have it go into effect, but to have some other plan put in place. It's been a year. They failed. And now I'm saying, let's get it done, because I don't want to see a couple 100,000 Virginians laid off and having the security of the United States in jeopardy, and 350,000 American men and women in uniform in Virginia go into unparalleled uncertainty because we can't get something worked out in Congress.